Okay, let me refresh the page here. It says that we are live. Okay, let me refresh the page. We are live. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Chit Chat and Geek Out. I'm your host, Steven, and today on the show, we are joined by photographer Kim Gottlieb-Walker. She has worked on countless amount of movies, television, as well as worked with many different musicians throughout her whole career, and I'm so happy to have her on the show to talk to her and learn more about her career and doing photography. And actually, she is my first photographer guest on the show, so I'm so happy to introduce you guys to her. Please welcome Kim Gottlieb-Walker. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
So going back, obviously you've worked on countless amount. I mean, your work has been continuously been shown over the years, and within your early career, how did you get into photography, and what were some first major gigs that you remember doing?
Well, when I went off to college for my freshman year at UC Berkeley, my mother gave me her little fixed lens camera, and the free speech movement happened during my freshman year. So my very first journalistic shooting was Joan Baez singing to the crowd as they took over the administration building. And I really kind of got hooked, and there wasn't any motion picture or still photography major available in Berkeley, so I transferred down to UCLA and majored in motion picture production. And my teacher used to do interviews for the underground press, and he'd take me along to shoot stills. So I shot portraits of Jimi Hendrix during an interview when I was 20 years old.
Wow. That's amazing just to think that.
So that's how I got started. I started shooting for the underground press and put together a portfolio. And I met my husband over the formation of a music magazine called Music World. And he was the editor, and I was the photo editor and chief photographer. And we became a team. And then he got a job working for Island Records as their head of publicity. And he knew a photographer he could trust when they wanted to introduce Bob Marley to the American public. So over a 2-year period, I shot Bob Marley a lot.
Wow.
And that resulted in a photo book that came out, I don't know, about 10 years ago, called Bob Marley and the Golden Age of Reggae.
Right.
And after that, because I had a really interesting portfolio, I managed to get my first job on a movie. And it was a terrible movie. It was never even released. It was so bad. But the script supervisor on it was Deborah Hill.
Right.
And she went on to write and produce Halloween with John Carpenter and invited the people she enjoyed working with to work on Halloween with them. So that was my first real gig on a movie.
That's amazing. It's just crazy what like connections can do. Like you just built relationships with somebody and they made history. You guys made history with you working from John. You've worked on so many amazing pieces in the horror genre. I'm a big horror fan. So it's like, and especially you, people might not realize it, guys, but if you go on Google Images, just type in Kim Gottlieb-Walker, you guys will definitely recognize several pieces of her work. Like if you guys are into viewing the behind the scenes photos from John Carpenter's films or television series, you guys will know her work. Like for example, the famous shot of Nick Castle drinking the Dr. Pepper, Kim shot that. And that's like one of my favorite shots from like behind the scenes. It was actually my screensaver on my phone at once upon a time. And I'm serious. And I actually met Nick Castle last year, I believe. And he was such a kind individual. He was really cool to talk to. And yeah, just for you, Kim, to be on the set with John and Deborah and shooting these movies and being behind the scenes. And it's just amazing to me. It's so fascinating.
It was so much fun. It was like working on a project in high school with all of your best friends.
Yeah.
It was just wonderful. And John really loved every member of his crew and respected what we were each bringing to his project. And as a result, it was always a happy set.
Wow. That's amazing. And you got to also see his progress from making each film. Like Halloween was his first one, but you also got to work with him on Christine, Escape from New York, The Fog, Halloween 2 as well. You worked with him a whole handful of times, and it's cool to see, you got to see John grow as an individual in the film industry directing these movies. That's amazing. And you got to capture all these images too.
He was always a really well-organized director. I mean, he always knew shot by shot what he needed to put the film together. Right. And he was always really good at communicating that to the crew, so it made it very easy for all of us.
Wow.
The only thing that really changed film by film was the size of the crew.
Right, exactly. Do you have a favorite of his films that you worked on? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, I just loved working with him on everything.
Right.
He's a rare director in that he understands the value of the stills for both selling the film and establishing the mood and to get the fans interested. And so he always made sure I could get my shot, which is very rare. You know, a lot of directors just feel annoyed by having a still photographer on the set and don't realize how important it is to selling their work and getting it out there. But sometimes if there was a shot where I couldn't really get the shot while they were doing it, he would have them do it again for me, which is very unusual.
Wow. You know, it's pretty amazing because you mainly focus on still photography. I'm a big horror fan, and I also collect a lot of horror merchandise. I love collecting stills from press kits and lobby cards. I actually have some from Halloween 2, so I'm sure those pictures were shot from you. It's amazing though. Was still photography always your forte, or do you like taking other types of photos besides just still photography?
Well, I've always liked shooting people specifically, and trying to really portray their personality, because photography is really only recording light and dark. Mm-hmm. And if within that format, if you can reveal a person's personality or a true moment, then that's very satisfying.
Right. Do you have any favorite stories from? It doesn't have any project you've worked on. It could be movies, television, music. You've worked with a lot of different people, and you've worked in a lot of different environments. You did a lot of traveling when you were younger. You lived in London, correct, for a bit?
For about a year, yeah.
Yeah. Just explain me, talk a little bit about your journey and about stories of working with different people and different environments.
Oh, it's been so varied. After I worked with John, pardon me, I worked on television. I worked on Cheers for 9 years, and I worked on Family Ties for 5 years. And those were also wonderful circumstances with great people. And I think looking back, though, my favorite photo session was probably with Bob Marley when we did the cover of High Times magazine, because Bob normally didn't like to pose. He didn't mind me hanging out and just documenting. But when it came to posing, he felt a little uncomfortable. But not for the cover of High Times magazine. He was totally on board for that. So that was a fun session.
Awesome. Very cool. And so you said that was your favorite. You said that was one of your favorite photo shoots from your career, right?
Well, it was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. What? But, yeah. I was say, do you have a favorite piece that you've took, like one piece of yours that you captured that's your absolute favorite?
Well, I do love that cover of High Times magazine where Bob is grinning and he has all the herb on the table in front of him.
Yeah, that was an awesome shot.
There's a photo from that same session with my 3-year-old son who thought he was a Rasta.
Oh my God.
Standing right near the table where we shot that shot. And Bob is looking at him with a big grin. And my son has that on his wall. He's in his 40s now.
That's awesome.
So it really makes me happy to have recorded moments that people care about, that they treasure.
Yeah.
That's what makes the job special.
It really does.
You're sort of deciding which moments in history you're going to preserve.
Yeah, exactly. And that actually kind of answers one of my other questions because I was going to ask you what was the most rewarding and challenging part about being a photographer. You pretty much summed up the most rewarding part, but for yourself, what's the most challenging part for you to be a photographer?
Well, when you're working on a movie set, the challenging part is to be able, you can't shoot exactly what the movie camera is shooting, so you have to find an angle that will give you what you need, even though it's not exactly the same.
Right.
And you're working with a whole crew, so you really need to have relationships with everyone so that they're not walking through your frame, and with the actors, so that if you're between scenes but the lighting is good, they can stage something for you. It's all a matter of relationships. And photography, as I said, it's about light and dark. And my influences, I think, one would be Henri Cartier-Bresson, who was the photographer who was all about the decisive moment. To get that one moment that really expresses what's going on.
Right.
One moment that captures the essence of a whole scene. One moment that really reflects a person's personality. And my other influence was my mother, because she was a photographer's assistant before she married my dad. And she's the one who taught me about light, how to really look at a person's face and see the way the light is reflecting on their bone structure and in their eyes.
Right.
So I would say those would be my two main influences.
Wow. Awesome. Let's see. We have a fan asking in the chat. We have a question here. And they ask, is this something you've always been interested in, or was there like something else?
Well, when I was first going to film school, I actually wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to be a camera operator, but I really didn't have any connections in the movie industry, and stills was something I could do on my own. And I think if I had the chance, I'd probably like to be a Steadicam operator, because Steadicam combines photography and dance.
Right.
And I took a lot of ballet when I was young, and the idea of dancing while shooting is very appealing to me.
Wow. Awesome. Do you have any regrets at all of jobs you wish you took or wish you got?
Well, after I got into the union, the Escape from New York got me into the union.
Right.
And there were some arcane union rules at that point about seniority. And so when John went on to shoot the thing, they didn't let me continue as part of the crew. I didn't realize that I could have, because they did have some provisions if you had a history with a director, but they didn't tell me that. So that kind of broke the chain of working with John. Although if I had to miss a show, that was probably the one to miss, because they all froze their asses off, and
Right.
I don't do very well in the cold.
Wow. And I should have mentioned this earlier too, but getting into this industry of photography, who were some of your whose work were you most influenced by when you got into this?
Well, I wasn't really influenced that much by other people shooting rock and roll or shooting movies. It
Right.
was more the decisive moment and my mother's, advice about light.
Right.
I shot the Sha-Na-Na show for a season, and I did a whole variety of things when I was working for the Underground Press and working for record companies.
Wow.
And but I'll tell you, getting into the union was one of the best things that ever happened to me, getting into the Cinematographers Guild. And Deborah Hill really fought for me to get me in. And now that I'm retired, I don't have to live on just Social Security. I have my union pensions as well and retiree health care.
Right.
And so I'm very grateful that I got into the union.
Yeah, I think the union's also great though, because I think when you join a union, it's kind of good for safety, and
Absolutely.
and plus when you're joining the union, I'm sure they'll notify you when there's gigs that pop up and job opportunities. So it's not like you always have to be searching. There'll always be something that comes up with them, and they'll give you more job opportunities.
Yeah, Yeah, I got my job working on Cheers because of the union availability list.
Wow.
They were looking for someone one night, and so I took the job, and they liked me, and I liked them, and it turned into a 9-year job.
How was it working on that show? I mean, that show is so iconic. I used to watch that every morning before I went to school in the morning. How was it working on that show?
On Cheers?
Yeah.
It was fabulous. It's a 4-camera show, so you have to be very aware of the hundreds of marks on the floor for each of the camera dollies, so that you don't get run over as they're changing shots.
Right.
And so it's a pretty specific skill, but you learn it pretty quickly.
Awesome. Very cool. Do you have any memories? Like, what's your favorite memory from working on that show?
Well, I sort of became the family photographer. So they used to do charity auctions where people contributing to charities could win getting to be an extra in the bar on Cheers.
Oh, wow.
And then at the end of the show, they would bring them up to be at the bar with the full cast, and I would take a picture of them with the full cast so that they would have something to show. And that was always fun. That was after every show we did that. And then as the show started to wind down at the end of the 9th season, each of the members of the crew wanted to do it too, so they would have that picture as a memory.
Right.
So I did it for each crew member as well.
That's amazing. That's so cool. I love it. From your point of view, I was reading up on you before the interview, and I just want to know from you. I know it's like a general question that probably a lot of photographers get, but from your point of view, what makes a good picture?
Trying to get a true moment. And I think most people now who are shooting digitally
right.
Have a tendency to shoot way too much without waiting for a good moment. And I don't know what they do with those hundreds of pictures of exactly the same thing.
Right.
Because I was shooting film and I couldn't afford it, I had to wait for every single shot. Every shot had to count. So on my crew sheets, every shot is different and every shot counts.
Right. You have a good eye for capturing the moments, that's for sure.
And my advice to photographers shooting now, besides not shooting quite so much and waiting for moments that are significant, would be to be sure to label everything so that you know who you shot and when and where, because 40 years later it may be difficult to sort out. Yes.
Sort everything, organize everything, that's for sure. Well, especially today too, because you grew up in a different time era. A lot of people that are doing photography now are doing it either as like a hobby or a passion, but it feels like nowadays it's hard for photographers to actually get a professional job in doing this for a living, because everyone nowadays has you can get cameras cheap, or you can get the high-end cameras. People have cameras on their phones, you name it. But, people that do like wedding photography on the side or do as a passion or hobby, but, a lot of people only do it as a part-time gig. For someone that wants to get into this professionally and do it for a living, what would you suggest for them for this day and age?
Well, I would suggest that they put together a portfolio of their best work. I mean, it could be an online portfolio now, but to show that they really can capture important moments, that they can do beautiful portraits, that they can get interactions between people captured, that they really have a handle on it. And then they need to look for some little non-union movie, it might be their friends putting it together, or, something that they hear about, and show their portfolio, see if they can get a job. And you can get into the union if you can prove that you have shot for 100 days within a 3-year period and gotten paid for doing it. And that will get you into the union. And once you're in the union, then you have the advantage of the availability list and contacts who are working on films who get to know you and will give you a shot.
All right. Great advice. It's great advice. I do, I've taken a bunch of different photography courses within the few years, like all through high school. That's mainly where I did all that stuff. I was really into it, and then now it's like I love doing. I've been thinking, I want to get into journalism because I love talking to people. I'm a good socializer. I like talking to people, and I would love to one day, I'm good with cameras, I'm good with computers, I'm good with cameras, I'm good with editing. So I'm like, my goal right now is to, I've been doing some online courses. I'm 20 years old, so I'm fairly young still. So I'm like getting to this slowly, making connections. And I actually wrote my first script this past year, and it's been in production for a while, and I have most people cast it out. It actually got delayed to shoot next year, but I was trying to work with the union, and it's sometimes it's challenging to work with the union, just depending where you are. But right now I'm raising more funds for next year's shoot, and I made a lot of connections, made a lot of new friends that do work in the film industry and are trying, like, beginners. One of my best friends, she's a special effects makeup artist, and now I'm looking into that as well. I love learning new things all the time. So it's awesome that you got to do all this stuff within your span of your career. I think that's amazing.
Well, it's great if you become part of a community, and it can be a community of your friends who are all really committed to making movies, and you all kind of move on together and become professional together.
Yeah. That's like what you guys did. John and Deborah, they made an independent movie that was low budget, and then a bunch of the crew members, just like you, got to work on like bigger and amazing projects.
Absolutely.
What equipment do you like to shoot with? Do you have a particular brand, like this present day? Like I use Canon Rebel T5i. What do you usually use?
Well, now I shoot with Canon 660 EOS and a 70 EOS. I still have a little bit of trouble with digital because there's a little bit of a delay in it. So you're not quite getting the exact moment you're going for, whereas with film, I always got the moment I was going for.
Oh.
So that takes a little bit of adjustment. It's a little bit different in timing.
Do you still shoot?
And my phone, I've got a Pixel phone that has, it has a whole lot of pixels in it. The resolution is really good. When I was in Florence for 2 weeks, I was using my phone a lot, and I got some really nice pictures.
Awesome. Yeah, no, the Pixel's supposed to be like one of the best phones for pictures. So you definitely got the right phone for yourself.
Yeah, but I tell you, the advent of digital has actually caused a lot of problems on the set, because if everybody has a cell phone that can take pictures,
right,
there's no set security anymore.
Yes.
And the actors end up losing patience because everybody is photographing them, and so they no longer have patience for working with the actual still photographer. And it's a major problem, and the producers start to think they don't need a still photographer on the set since everyone is shooting. And they're missing out on someone who is really capturing the history of the shoot.
Yes. No, I agree with you too. And it's funny because I just talked to a friend of mine from high school. He's an actor. He shot with Marilyn Manson. I don't remember what the movie was called. It's a new movie that with Marilyn Manson. He was one of the actors in it, and he was on set, and they tape the phone on you now. So if you take it out, you'll get in trouble when you get kicked off the set. And but as far as what you were saying about still photographers, it's very important, especially for the special effects department. If you're shooting a scene one day, you have to capture that person, because the next day you're gonna have to, if you have to shoot the same scene over again, you have to make sure the special effects, it looks the exact same as you shot the other day. And plus, what you do is you capture moments, and that's something to look back at after the project is all done, and it'll feel good. Look at those pictures like years later, be like, oh wow, this is like the first film I ever shot, and it's just cool looking back at all these photos.
Absolutely.
Oh, and what are some things that people may not know about you? Do you have any secret talents or anything interesting that people that may not know about you?
Well, about 17 years ago, I sat down from midnight to 4 a.m. every night for about 2 months and wrote a novel. And then I put it away, and I took it out about 7 years ago to see if it was embarrassing or to see if it was a good read.
Right.
And it was entertaining enough that I joined a critique group and rewrote it a couple of times. And it now has an agent who's looking for a publisher for it. It's called Lens Woman, and it's about a young still photographer in the 1960s and 70s, and working in the underground press and working on movies. And it's loosely based on my life, but it is a novel, and I put it in the format of a romance novel because that made it really easy to kind of tie everything together.
Right.
And so hopefully sometime within the next year or two, Lens Woman will be out there.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great. And I was talking to you before we went live, and I love how you're doing these books for your, you're still within the, like, for your career that you've taken the archives, and these pictures have never been shown before as well. And everybody that's watching, there's a link to Kim's website. It's down in the description below. She has a shop there. You guys can order some either like prints and books. And there's the two books that you have out right now is the Bob Marley one and Halloween one, correct? Do you have any other ones out?
Well, the Bob Marley one is called Bob Marley and the Golden Age of Reggae, and the John Carpenter book is called On Set with John Carpenter. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping to do one of my photos from the 1960s and 70s. Because I shot so many music people and popular culture heroes. And I actually have a picture of Andy Warhol smiling. Have you ever seen Andy Warhol smiling?
No, that's amazing.
So it's going to be really fun putting that book together. And that's all stuff that I own outright that I, shot back then.
Wow, it's so amazing. Yeah, you guys, you have to get your hands on these books. I was talking to Kim before I went live too. I've actually seen the On Set with John Carpenter book in person. The pictures are amazing, but the copy that I actually ended up finding was an air copy, and the pictures are upside down in the book. So I'm going to be ordering myself a new one. I've been wanting it for a while, but I figured I'm going to ask you before I actually order it. It's such an amazing book, guys. It has so many cool behind the scenes photos in it, and especially because the quality that you printed in too. I was going to ask this too, like when you make these books, what's the process of getting all these archive photos on your film to like HD resolution on high quality prints?
Well, the original negatives are just as good as they were when I shot them.
Wow.
So you scan them really high res, and you can make gigantic prints that are perfect.
That's awesome. Wow.
And, I worry about people who are shooting digital because the means of archiving them and preserving them keep changing. And I'm worried that people won't be able to access what they shot 10 years from now or 20 years from now.
Right.
Whereas I still have those negatives that are still just as good today as they were 30 or 40 years ago.
Wow. That's amazing. Where do you store them? Do you just like keep in like a secret hiding spot? Like how do you keep them do they last for a while? Do they ever do you have to preserve them like in a special way at all?
Well, I don't have the negatives for Halloween. Erwin Yablans has those. But I do have all the negatives for Escape from New York. And it's just a matter of not letting them get too overheated. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't require a whole lot to preserve them.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, you guys need to get the Kim's books. You'll be in for a treat. I'm so excited to get my hands on the On Set with John Carpenter book. It covers Halloween 1 and 2, Christine, Escape from New York, and The Fog, correct?
Yes, those are the films.
Perfect.
And it was so much fun putting it together because I got to reunite with a whole lot of people that I worked with on those films, and I would just show them pictures and let them talk about what they remembered. And so the book is filled with with the memories of people who worked on these films.
That's amazing. Hey, how was H40, the Halloween convention was it last year in Pasadena?
Oh, it was fun. It was great to see the people who showed up who acted in the films or worked on the films, and it was great meeting the fans.
That's awesome. That's amazing. I'm so happy for you. I mean, you made a career for yourself, and I personally think that you're really a really underrated photographer, and I think more people should know your name because you've done so much amazing work. And I think when people see a piece of their work, they're like, "Oh wait, Kim did that," because like. Yeah, I'm serious because like I've seen your for years. I've seen your pictures, and I never knew who really was a photographer. And then when I found out about you, I viewed all your other work. I'm like, wow, this person's really gifted and like captured all these moments in history. So, Kim, I appreciate you so much for taking the time tonight. It's been great getting chance to talk to you and learn more about you. And I think it's amazing what you're doing, especially now when you're retired and you're showing all your old work that you've done in the past and putting in the books. I think that's great. And everyone that's watching, make sure to go check out Kim on her website. It's lenswoman.com. The link is down in the description below. Is there anything you want to say to anybody, Kim, before we end off here?
Well, each of my books has a Facebook page as well. So if anybody wants information about when I might be doing appearances or signings or, any news, they can join those Facebook pages. And it was really lovely talking with you.
Perfect. It was very nice talking to you as well. Hope everyone enjoyed tonight's episode. And guys, as well, I'm going to make this announcement early, but since we have Kim Gottlieb-Walker on the line right now, and you guys know, everyone that watches my channel knows I'm a big Halloween fan. So just to let you guys know, on November 18th, Monday, November 18th, we will be joined by the original Judith Meyer, Sandy Johnson. She'll be on the show on November 18th, guys. So if you guys are still into the Halloween spirit as much as I am, you guys will definitely want to tune into that episode. And you guys are the first to know about it because I haven't announced it yet. But I figured since we're on the Halloween topic, why not say it? So I hope you guys have a great night, and I appreciate you guys so much for watching. Take care, guys. Bye.